morning, everyone. My name is Ashwini Deshpande, and welcome to this short presentation about a new center that's being set up at Ashoka University. It's called the Center for Economic Data and Analysis, or CEDA. This video is a short introduction to what the center is planning to do, and it's what's currently being done. So we had a discussion within the economics department about what CEDA's vision is, or what should CEDA aim to be. And we had a really fun discussion when we said, okay, if we had wanted to have a tagline about CEDA, what would it be? And the faculty came up with very interesting answers, all of which actually summarize what CEDA is trying to do. So for example, we are forging narratives through data. We let the data speak. We demystify data. We make big data interesting. We are trying to understand the world with data. And we are creating economic data stories for you, and much more. So you get the idea, which is that CEDA is a center that's going to become a data repository, a data hub, and it's going to present in capsule form the data, what the big data tells us, and how it enables us to understand the world around us. I will introduce the team, and then I will hand it over to my colleagues to go into more detail about what CEDA does. So the whole department is behind us and is helping us, but we are a team of 3 founding members. I am Ashwini Deshpande, I'm the founding director. There's Professor Anisha Sharma from Economics Department, and Professor Sabyasachi Das, also from the Economics Department. So the 3 of us are actually creating this data portal, and in a few months' time, we hope to unveil it and bring it for use to everyone. I'll hand over the presentation now to Professor Anisha Sharma to explain a little bit more in detail about what we are planning to do.
Thank you, Ashwini. Yeah, so I'll just talk a little bit more about some of the primary aims of CEDA. So as Ashwini has already said, we really want to be a data repository, and in some sense, a one-stop shop or a one-stop hub for socioeconomic data that relates to India. We hope to be usable by a very wide range of stakeholders or users. So on the one hand, going from academic researchers and students, all the way through policymakers, policy advocates, journalists, and even engaged citizens who just want to be better informed about the world around them. So on the one hand, we're going to provide downloadable links to the data that's already available on India today. But we will also hope to excite interest in data narratives by running a blog side by side with the data repository, where we publish short, concise, easy to understand data narratives or stories that really tell themselves through visualizations of the data. I don't think there's any area where it's probably more true that a picture is worth 1,000 words than in the field of data analysis and socioeconomic data analysis. And we really want to rely as much as possible on high quality visualizations that can convey important insights about the world around us through a simple image. So we want to be essentially a hub that not just provides access to data, but also links data across different data sets. So let me give you an example. We have already in India very high quality data from the National Family and Health Survey on health facilities and health outcomes at the district level. We also have very high quality data on labor market outcomes. Now, imagine if you wanted to link a health outcome with an employment outcome, right? CEDA should be able to enable you to do that. So at the district level, you can see both health outcomes and labor outcomes, and you'll be able to map them against one another. Similarly, we want to expand our universe to cover as many data sets as possible, and over time bring in examples of data sets that cover standard of living, demography, health, education, even data sets like nightlights data or crime data, for example. So to give you a little more insight on some of the tools that we plan to embed in our site so that you will be able to do these kind of different tasks, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Sabyasachi.
Thanks, Ashwini and Anisha. Let me sort of build on what Anisha just mentioned and give you a little bit more detail about the data portal that we are building within the SIDA website. So for example, say you want to look at a specific indicator, say in this case, labor force participation rate of women, and you want to see it both across states or across geographies, say within states, across districts, and as well as over time, that kind of information will be accessible on our data portal. And we'll make this kind of information accessible in various kinds of visualizations. So for example, you could have a bar chart of the average values of labor force participation of women across different states, and also being visualized in a heat map, in a map of India. And users can sort of hover over various portions of the map where the numbers would sort of pop up. So this kind of high-end visualization we're going to build in to show the both cross-sectional as well as over time changes in important variables in the context of India. Anisha has already mentioned that we are also building capacities so that you could compare various variables across data sets. So for example, you want to see whether labor force participation of women correlates with, say, the maternal mortality rate. Now, these two information comes from two different data sets, but we are able to match these two data sets to be able to allow the users to show correlations across these two important variables, both at the national level as well as at a geographically disaggregated level, say at state or district. And we'll also have a slider for time so that you can see how these correlations are changing over time. And this kind of flexibility will be something that is unique to the kind of data portal that SIDA is building. Of course, we'll allow the users to actually download the raw data set that's behind all these nice visualizations so that the users can use the data for their own research purposes. Within this flexibility that we are allowing the users, we are sort of building in some kind of structure to guide them. So for example, we'll organize all these sort of several hundreds of variables into various themes. So for example, researchers or journalists could be interested in understanding the employment scenario or the health sector, etc. And then the variables could be correlated within them or across certain sub-themes of, say, within the health sector. Now, all this kind of work requires a lot of help. The faculty members in the department are not enough to sort of do this kind of work. So therefore, that's why the students might get interested in getting themselves involved with us. So we will need a lot of research assistants to help us build this, the backend data structure, which will go as input into this data portal. And we already are working with several undergraduate students who are helping us in building these data sets. We are also acquiring a lot of other privately available data sets, raw data sets, which will be of use for the students at the undergraduate as well as for graduate students to do their own research. So for example, we already have a PhD student working with the CMIE data that our center has acquired. So the potential for SIDA to help the students get research experience is enormous, and it's only going to grow over time as we acquire more and more data. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha and Sabya. I hope you enjoyed our little presentation, and I hope you engage with us, reach out to SIDA, and make SIDA your first option when you're looking for any data or any evidence-based analysis of the Indian economy. Thank you very much for watching.